In the Impact segment tonight, how should the U.S. respond to the apparent hacking attacks from Russia? As I mentioned earlier, President Obama addressed the issue during an interview with NPR.
I think there is no doubt that when any foreign government tries to impact the integrity of our elections, that we need to take action, and we will.
Joining us now from Washington with reaction, Michael Rubin, author of Dancing with the Devil, The Perils of Engaging Rogue Regimes, and from Houston, national security analyst Arash Aramesh. Arash, let's talk a little bit about that. Later on, or earlier today, actually, President Obama, in his long press conference, said our message to Russia, don't do this to us anymore because we can do stuff to you. That doesn't sound like there's a lot of teeth in that threat, against retaliating against Russian hacks.
You know, President Obama apparently told President Putin of Russia about a month ago that he needs to cut it out. Actually, about 2 months ago, right before the election, told the Russian president that you need to cut out all these interferences and meddling into our election. Here's what happened.
Or what? And here's the problem. Cut it out 2 months ago, or we'll do stuff to you today. I don't know. If I'm Putin, I'm going, whoa, okay, I'll stop right now.
Well, we have plenty of tools in our arsenal that we can hit the Russians back with it. But here's what happened. There are a few sacred rights as an American: right to free speech, right to free assembly. And one of those very sacred rights is the right to vote, and to make sure that that electoral system, that's the sanctity of that electoral system, is protected and it's safe. Russian government and senior intelligence officials in that government, and now we know President Putin himself, because of a personal vendetta against Hillary Clinton,
I want to bring Michael in.
And then they leaked it, and they leaked it, and they leaked it, and they get...
But there's no recourse. They'll keep... I have a teenager, and you know what teens respond to? Punishment. They don't respond to idle threats, you know, stop doing that or else. The or else is what really counts. Michael, your thoughts?
Well, Obama's got no credibility on the international front. He should start leaking the details of Putin's Swiss bank accounts right away. He's got no credibility on the domestic front because when the Chinese stole 20 million personnel files from the office of, from OPM, Obama refused to name the Chinese because he was afraid of it. And he's got no credibility when it comes to security because he hasn't punished anyone for leaks in this sort of operational security.
Okay, Rush, what about this? What about President Obama admitting today that, yeah, he was aware of the Russian hacking, but they haven't done anything, and now he's leveling a threat on this day?
You know what? Children do respond to threats, but they also respond to reward. And the best reward the Russian government can get is a Russia-friendly White House. And Donald Trump is going to promise them that. That was a main theme in his campaign. And people he's been appointing and he has appointed are very Russia-friendly. So that's one thing. Secondly, President Obama in the past couple of years has waged a very strong campaign of sanctions against Russian occupation of Ukraine and annexation of Crimea. On top of that, Russian President Vladimir Putin was certain that Hillary Clinton would have a much stronger, much tougher foreign policy against Russia that Donald Trump and his people would ever have. And on top of that, for all this time that we're talking about this, 17 U.S. intelligence agencies, including the CIA and now the FBI, are now confirming that senior Russian officials, including Vladimir Putin, were trying to influence the U.S. election to support Donald Trump.
Well, why is that, Arash? Why is that? So you just tell me they respond to rewards. We've rewarded Russia by not sanctioning them.
No, we have not.
Well, we sanction them lightly, though. We sanction them lightly. Michael?
And guess who wants to lift the sanctions? Tillerson wants to lift the sanctions. Donald Trump wants to lift the sanctions.
Tillerson said apply sanctions that have teeth. These sanctions have no teeth, and look what the Russians done. Let me bring Michael in.
If they have no teeth,
absolutely. What needs to happen here? What needs to happen here, first of all, it's one thing for Obama to say these intelligence agencies are all on board with the assessment, but why is he refusing to brief the House Intelligence Committee, which has been asking for the evidence because they haven't been given it? What we really need, and I'm suspicious of Russia, make no mistake, is for the Congress to start asserting its oversight and basically to call out the president, no more of these announcements without the intelligence to back it up. And when it comes to Rex Tillerson, if Congress doesn't want the sanctions. If Congress wants the sanctions in place, they got to play hardball with the State Department, and a little game of good cop, bad cop could go a long way. It's about time we actually had a strategy.
So, Arash, what about that? Michael makes a very good point. Where's the listen? I know James Comey has decided today he's signing on board with the CIA and James Clapper with the DNA. I get that, but where's the evidence? Can the American people at least see the evidence when we're talking about this? If they're all in unison.
And I certainly hope that the president would declassify as much of this intelligence as possible before Donald Trump takes the oath of office. And I also certainly hope to see a bipartisan commission, just like the 9/11 Commission report. I would like to see a bipartisan commission to be formed and to investigate this. This is not a Trump versus Hillary issue. This is an American election, American right to vote issue. The Russians have influenced and meddled in elections in Ukraine, in Moldova, in many places around the world, especially in Eastern Europe. We should never allow them to do that on U.S. soil and with our elections. So let's have a bipartisan commission to address these issues, to get to the bottom of this. And I urge this administration, President Obama, to declassify as much as he can. Because you know what? To be frank, I have very little faith in a Republican-led, Republican-controlled House and Senate that for so long have hesitated to actually investigate these allegations.
But President Obama said, we will take action. Should he, 35 days left until he tosses the keys to Donald Trump. Should he take action in those 35 days against Russia?
Absolutely, and I promise you that there will be action, and there will be action in those 35 days. Hopefully, Donald Trump will not reverse those actions because he would like to actually show a nicer face to the Russians. Yes, President Obama should declassify intelligence, should take action, and if I were the president and were his national security team, I would start declassifying those documents, and I would start urging Congress to appoint a bipartisan commission to get to the bottom of this. This is important.
Final thought, Michael. Should President Obama take action with 35 days to go?
Absolutely, if he has the proof, and amen to a bipartisan commission to look into this. We got to play hardball with Russia. For us, diplomacy is how to get to yes. For Russia, it's a zero-sum game, and we can't blame our predecessors instead of our adversaries.
Got to leave it right there, Michael Arash. Thank you very much.